It makes complete sense. And there's no other possibility at all that anything could work, right? When it comes to fat loss, you gotta eat less and you gotta do more activity. That's the only solution, right? Calories in, calories out. That's what we've been told. What if I told you that that's not necessarily the truth? And most people are doing that not just poorly and inefficiently, but at the wrong time. I'm gonna break down why your solution might not necessarily be a caloric deficit or a caloric deficit in the way that you think. I'm gonna give 4 reasons, maybe I'll come up with the 5th on the way, of how this is not necessarily always true, that you need to eat less and do more activity in order to lose body fat. Scenarios that might be counterintuitive to that, and hopefully change your limiting belief system, and that is the only way to go. Because, right, it makes sense. If I wanna lose body fat, I gotta do more, right? But have you ever noticed that you might have the perfect nutrition approach and training approach, but the body's just not in a place to respond? Don't you think that there are other factors going on? Well, let's talk about it. First and foremost, let's talk about the metabolism. The metabolism, which I've explained in other videos, is a thermostat. It goes up, revs up the energy production, the recovery, etc., and it brings it back down. What happens is after long bouts of dieting, yo-yo dieting, and keeping your body in a nutrient restrictive state, meaning that you just have less nutrients, calories, etc. for your body to use, the body's like, okay, well, I don't want to die, so I got to do something about this. So it's going to turn the temperature down. It's going to bring that metabolism down. So now what originally worked for your caloric deficit might not anymore, because you've eaten less, you've done more activity, and the body burns energy on its own in its own ways through its metabolism. But if you now lose the metabolism's ability to do that, these two things may no longer be effective. And you would think, okay, well, I'll just eat even less and work out even more. But what do? You crash the metabolism even further, right? And we'll get into I've already talked about this, in other videos about what you do in that realm. I'm gonna touch on it here, talking about the body's affinity or how much it likes to keep body fat. But what happens is you continue to drive the metabolism down and forcing it into a place where it's not going to lose body fat. You know what you're gonna burn? You're gonna burn muscle. You're gonna burn all that muscle. And you think you know what skinny fat is? You don't know skinny fat is until you continue to diet for years on end, a yo-yo diet, and keep yourself in a calorie restricted state and have your metabolism crash. I'm being sarcastic because you know what that's like because you're in it, all right? So what happens is you diet for either an extreme bout, right? Like a short but extreme bout, or a long bout, or a bunch of yo-yoing, and your metabolism's like, screw this. I'm not gonna get food. I'm just gonna stop doing things because this is point number 2. Body fat is precious to the body. And when you think, why is that? Well, body fat in excess causes problems, but your body doesn't really know the difference between a little bit of fat and a big amount of fat. It just says, hey, fat is necessary. Think about this, 10,000 years ago when we were fighting for our food and hunting, right? What happened if you didn't kill an animal that day or forage and find some berries, right? You're gonna be pretty hungry. And what do you have to really keep you alive at that point? Body fat, because maybe a day ago, 2 days ago, you ate enough and you stored some body fat. We're 10,000 years in the future, but our body and physiology has not changed that much. So we're still in that place where if we don't have nutrients, our body's gonna want to hold on to that body fat and only use it when it needs to because it doesn't want to die. The only difference, we're not hunting anymore. We just go to the supermarket, we swipe our card 5, 6, 7 times a day and we buy whatever we want. The physiology has not changed. So you need to understand, body fat will stay precious to the body. You know what isn't precious to the body and very expensive? Muscle. The body only wants as much muscle as it needs to carry out day-to-day tasks. Muscle costs energy. Remember, your body is lazy. Your body does not want to spend energy for no reason. It wants to keep the body fat. When you put on more muscle than your body needs, it needs to spend energy to keep it. Not just to build it, but to keep it. But why would the body keep it if you're not putting it in a position to want to keep it or grow? That goes back to the extreme dieting and dieting over long amounts of time. If you slow your metabolism down, your body's not going to want to recover or build muscle. The metabolism, anabolism, which means building, is part of your metabolism. Your metabolism is anabolism and catabolism, building and breaking down. So if your metabolism is slow, your muscle building is going to be slow, right? And so you now put your body in a position where it's not going to move unless you take it into a state where it thinks, oh, I'm not starving, you're not going to die, and I can keep this body fat, right? So bringing it back to where I was, muscle is expensive for the body. So what do you think the solution is in the long run? It's to build muscle. The more muscle you have, the higher your metabolic rate, the faster your metabolism is, and the more calories you can burn just sitting around. So when you get to my size at 230 pounds currently, I know plenty of you who are watching this, or just in general, clients I've had that weigh 230 pounds, not nearly as much muscle, and they eat a quarter as much as me or half. Why do you think that is? It's not because of steroids. It's not because, I eat differently. Well, yes, I eat differently than they do to get them to that position, but once they're now my client, they're eating differently, right? Or our client, excuse me. It's because of how much muscle I have. Muscle will start to tick that metabolism up. But you're creating a perfect storm because now you're slowing your metabolism down, you're holding on to fat, and you're burning muscle. And then what happens is you get to this goal weight that looks like crap, let's just be honest, and you stop dieting, you're like, okay, I'm gonna eat whatever you want, and your metabolism's just not in a place for that. And you have no muscle to keep it off, and you just gain the fat again, right? Skinny fat, bad metabolism, not good. This is another reason why your solution might not be to continue to cut calories. And let me explain in the third situation why that is even more of a fact. Most people who are dieting for a long time have gotten to the point where their calories are really low. As a woman, I've heard of 900 to 1,200, 1,300 calories. That's still pretty low. I don't care how small you are. Like that's just not a lot, right? Men eating 1,500, 1,600 calories a day, right? Because they've been dieting so long. They have no muscle, right? They've tanked their metabolism. My question is this: if your solution is working out more and eating less to lose body fat, and you're eating 1,000 calories, you're eating 1,500 calories, okay, well, it takes 3,000, I don't want to lose you here. It takes 3,500 calories a day to lose not a day, sorry. It takes 3,500 calories to burn 1 pound of body fat, okay? So if I burn 3,005 calories, whether that's a day, like I was saying before, or a week or a month, if 3,500 calories are burned, that's 1 pound of body fat if I'm in a deficit. If I want to lose 1 pound in 1 week, I need to lose 3,500 calories for that week, right? Because 3,500 equals a pound. If I want to lose a pound a week, I got to lose that over the week. If we were to break 3,500 calories into 7 days, how much would I need to lose per day to reach 3,500 to burn a pound of body fat? 500 calories a day. So that's either comes from food or burning it, right? But we're already eating, let's say for this example, 1,000 calories for you ladies, or 1,200 calories for you ladies, and 1,500 or 1,800 for you men. You're probably already doing cardio, so you're already burning energy. So you got to burn 500 more to lose 1 pound. I want you to understand how this doesn't make sense. So let's say I want to take it from food. So you tell me I got to go from 1,000 calories to 500 calories a day eating? I got to eat 700 calories a day if I go from 1,200 to 700, right? That 500? You're going to live, your body's going to lose body fat. For you men who you're eating 1,700 calories a day and not seeing weight loss, you're going to tell me you're going to take 500 calories a day less and go to 1,200 and you're going to see that? How does that even make sense? The point I'm trying to make is if it was just doing that, well, then it would just be so simple, right? I thought you were doing that. But it's because it's not. It's absolutely not. Where do you go from there? You're already doing cardio 5, 6, 7 days a week. You're already working out every day, right? So yeah, sure, changing your eating habits, your stress, your sleep, paying attention to these things are important, but you see how none of those answers are, let me go into more of a calorie deficit, let me stress myself more. That's exactly why your solution is not eating less and working out more. It is not. It is not. Ask yourself that question. That's ultimately what's going to shift your mind. Where do you go from there? You're already doing that. So what are you going to do? Continue to cut more food? Does that make sense? Do you see other people who are successful in weight loss doing that? Probably not. You're going to work out more? You're going to put more on your schedule? You're going to see your family less? You're going to sleep less? Doesn't make sense, okay? Now, the last thing I'm going to leave you with is this saying, I don't know who, I think insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I don't know who said that, but it makes sense. You've been doing the same thing, getting to the same place, and you expect to do the same thing and end up in a different place? No, you just have this belief through, I don't know how it was, maybe it's social media, maybe it's, marketing of, carbs are the enemy and calorie deficit, right? But like, okay, at what point are you going to, after years and months and of frustration and not liking how you look, are you going to try something new? So I don't want to turn this into a pep talk, but this ultimately, this situation, this topic, this gets to this point because people identify so much with this idea that they need to eat less and do more activity in order to succeed, that it's hard to pull them from that because of course it makes sense, right? I've been told calorie deficit. I'm eating too much. I'm fat because I eat too much. Well, there are things that happen that you don't understand. And that is why individuals like me are here to teach you. There's very few, select few individuals, because you'll still go online and see 90% of these dudes with six packs tell you you're not in a calorie deficit. Well, they don't understand how things work, but I do. So if you enjoy this information, please subscribe to my channel. If you like to know what it takes to work with me one-on-one, please fill out the application in my bio and I'll reach out to you personally.